Hey, what's up, everybody? So, coming to you today with the number 5's report. So, as I've been doing all week, I'm going to have a report at the beginning of every month breaking down the top 5 guys in each division. But instead of going one division at a time, I'm going to cover all the number 5's from each division individually. Like, so every number 1, every number 2, every number 3, every number 4, and every number 5, but it's not going to be per division. So I'm not just going to do the top 5 at 122 individually, like when I do my top 10 videos. I'm going to break down, number 1, all the number 1s from those 12 divisions from 122 to heavyweight. I'm going to do all the number 2s. So this one is on my number 5 fighters in each division, ranging from super bantamweight at 122 to heavyweight. So let's get into it. First off, if you guys like my videos, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down even. If you don't like them, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment, guys. I appreciate any love and support. All right, so let's get into it now. We start with the number 5 fighter at 122 pounds, super bantamweight, and that is former world title challenger Azat Havanasian. This is my boogeyman at 122. I like this guy a lot. He's with Golden Boy. We know that he's supposed to be coming back to action, likely a tune-up opponent on February 13th. That's actually this weekend coming up, Saturday the 13th on DAZN. Should be a pretty big card on DAZN right there. It's a really big card on the Joseph Diaz undercard. So some good action. He should be returning. Like I said, it's going to be to shake off some rust. By the time he's back in the ring, we're looking at almost a 1.5-year layout for Havanasian, so he needs to shake it off. He's still the WBA's number 1 contender, so I'm hoping this leads to a mandatory shot against, hopefully, Marajan Akhmadayev later in the year is what I'm hoping for, because I'd love to see that matchup. And Havanasian's deserving. He's, if you guys don't know, he knocked out Ronnie Rios, knocked him out cold in 2018 in an upset, and that led to a title shot 2 months later against Ray Vargas, who he bullied in that fight at times, and Vargas, just his accumulation of punches is why he took the decision. But Havanasian broke his jaw and just stalked him and hit him with good shots the whole fight. So Vargas ended up being out like 9 months to repair his jaw and injuries in that fight. So this dude's a real deal. And then he came back in I believe it was September of 2019, and he destroyed, Franklin Manzanilla, who almost knocked Vargas out in a title fight earlier in the year. Destroyed Manzanilla in only 4 rounds. So Havanasian is a hog. He likes to fight. He likes to come forward. Very entertaining. Check him out on the 13th on DAZN, and hopefully we hear something by the March report about him possibly getting a title shot at some point. Number 5 at 126 featherweight is Can Shu of China, the WBA regular champion. Well, it's come out in the last month that Shu Can and Josh Warrington couldn't agree on coming to terms for a fight. Part of it was because Can didn't want to fight behind closed doors, and the other part of it was because the IBF, which was the title that Warrington held, wasn't going to approve it as a unification, because Can is only the regular champion of the WBA, not the full champion. And I think the fight got held up because they were waiting around expecting the WBA to declare Can the official world champion, the super champion, because Leo Santa Cruz is currently the super champion, but he hasn't fought here in 2 years in this division, defended his title. He moved up to 130 and won a title, and then got knocked out in his last fight against Gervonta Davis. So it's been officially 2 years now since Santa Cruz has fought at 126. So I believe, the IBF was waiting around for that to happen, and it never happened. So they were going to order Warrington to face Kid Galahad. Then he gave up the belt. So now, what does that mean for Can? I don't know. He hasn't fought since November of 2019. I'm hoping he announces something soon. We know the fight with Josh Taylor is still a real thing that could happen, but it would probably just be for Can's belt. But I think Can needs to try to come back soon on a Golden Boy undercard somewhere, and maybe even Canelo's undercard at the end of the month, he needs to come back and shake off that rust, get a quick title defense in, and then move forward towards something bigger later in the year. So that's what I'm hoping for from Shukan. Hopefully we hear something by the March report, or hopefully he just gets announced out of nowhere for a Golden Boy card like the Canelo card would be a good one. Possibly Virgil Ortiz next month in March. So we'll see. Number 5 at 130 pounds, super featherweight, is former 2-division world champion Carl Frampton. His moment is here. February 27th, Frampton has the opportunity to capture a championship in a 3rd weight class when he takes on American Jamel Herring. This is a very good matchup right here, guys. Frampton, I believe he's 33, 34. He has a chance to prove if he still has it, and if he can do it at another weight class, going against a good boxing southpaw in Herring, but Herring's also like 35, 36 years old. So 2 older veterans, big time fight right here. The winner gets Shakur Stevenson later in the year. Bigger fight against the younger up and rising star right there. So, you know, big things could be coming, and it would be a huge win for Frampton if he were to beat Jamel Herring. So I think Frampton has a decent chance of winning this fight. I think it's close to a 50-50 fight. I'm favoring Herring to win the fight, though. I think Herring's going to get a decision win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Frampton won this one. It's just I think he's a little small for 130, and I think Herring, his style and his size is going to be the difference here, but it really could go either way, so we'll see. February 27th on ESPN should be a good one. Frampton and Herring. By the time we do it, we'll see if he is going to be, you know, on that list or not. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so next up is the number 5 fighter in the 135-pound lightweight division, and that is Jorge Linares, the former 3-division world champion. So Linares, we haven't heard anything about what he's doing. He hasn't fought since February of last year, when he officially returned to lightweight, like made the weight and everything, and destroyed Carlos Morales, a veteran, in only 4 rounds, and you know, kept himself in line for something bigger, which people were hoping was a showdown with Ryan Garcia, but the fight never happened for July 4th like it was supposed to, and so, you know, that nothing came about it. But Linares also didn't do anything either, so didn't come back and fight or do anything. So I haven't heard anything. I know Linares said after Ryan Garcia's fight with Luke Campbell that Ryan Garcia wasn't ready. Now, Ryan Garcia doesn't look likely that he's going to fight Devin Haney, and it doesn't look likely that he's going to get Tank Davis next. So I say this, why not Jorge Linares and Ryan Garcia? Linares doesn't really have any better immediate options right now, and neither does Garcia. So why not these 2 guys get it on, and Garcia go for another notch on his belt, and Linares try to prove that he still has what it takes. If he can beat Garcia, he's right at the top. He can get any of the top guys in the ring, you know, and I say these guys go at it. I'm hoping this fight gets announced, or there's at least interest, and we know something a little more clear on Linares and Garcia by the March report. We'll let you know. Next up is the number 5 fighter at 140 pounds. That's junior lightweight, or junior welterweight, I'm sorry. And that is former WBC champion Victor Postol. We haven't heard anything, which is the norm on Postol. Postol is not a sought-after type fighter, and he hasn't been very active. And part of that is because guys really do not like his style. He's a bad matchup, and he proved that again when he took on Jose Ramirez in August and almost beat him. You know, it was a very good fight, back and forth, and he, Ramirez ended up taking a very close majority decision. And Postol, he's tall, he throws a lot of punches, and he can box well, so, and he can take a good punch. So this guy's a hard out right here. He's 36, so I'm hoping he gets some kind of an eliminator next. I'm hoping we hear something, because it's been since August. It's been 6 months now, this month, but I wouldn't guarantee nothing. He's one of those guys like an Arizlan Lara that his fights kind of pop up out of nowhere, and then he fights. But I'm hoping he gets a little bit more active as he gets older here, because you know, how much of a shelf life does he have now, 36 years old, and guys not really lining up to want to fight him, so we'll see. Next up is my number 5 fighter in the 147-pound welterweight division, the best division in boxing, the former unified champion, Keith One-Time Thurman, as I like to call him now, and a lot of people are calling him Sometime Thurman, because the guy just does not stay busy and stay active. Now, he hasn't fought since July of 2019 when he lost the WBA super title to Manny Pacquiao by that split decision. You know, I know he's calling people out, and he's been doing that. He called out Errol Spence. Then he just, I think in the last couple days, he called out Yordenis Ugas with the winner to get Errol Spence. I know Ugas and Spence are talking to each other right now about a fight. I think Thurman needs to, you know, if Sean Porter doesn't get selected by Spence or Crawford, I think Thurman needs to go after Sean Porter, but I don't think he wants anything to do with Sean Porter. So, okay, there's a couple other guys out there that you should be interested in, Keith, and one of them is Danny Garcia, and the other one is Mikey Garcia. Danny would like a shot at revenge. I think Danny would view Keith Thurman as a potential, as him being able to win that rematch. Maybe he wouldn't take it because he's coming off the loss to Spence, but I think it's possible. And I think Mikey Garcia would fight him for sure. That's a big fight too. So if Mikey doesn't get Pacquiao like he wants, which we don't know what the hell Pacquiao's doing. So, you know, I think this fight is possible. I know he has other options like Jamal James. Keith Thurman could fight some pretty good fighters, even a rematch with Josecito Lopez. And I really think it would be, I think he should do that, set himself up for something bigger in the second half of the year. Because if he goes straight in against one of the top tier guys like a Porter, like a Spence, like an Ugas, I don't know if he wins those fights, man. I really don't. So I think that'd be tough. Build your way into that and then do it. But hopefully we hear something by the March report on Keith Thurman, because he really has been inactive a lot the last few years. So we'll see. Next is the number 5 fighter at 154-pound super welterweight, the former unified champion, Jason Rosario. Haven't heard anything since Rosario got dominated and knocked out against Jermell Charlo in that unification fight back in September on pay-per-view. You know, no surprise that he lost that fight, but, you know, Rosario is with the PBC, so I do think he's an option for some other fighters. I know Lubin mentioned him as a name. I think like a Jarrett Hurd, I think, you know, if J-Rock Williams wanted a rematch, I think Rosario should be putting himself out there in line for some of those other guys, even in Erislandy Lara, you know, and getting a fight, but just haven't heard anything yet. So I'm hoping that's the case, but we'll see what happens. You know, I do like Rosario, you know, and I'd like to see him return and take somebody on and shake off that loss, but maybe he needs to come back and just stay busy. But at the very least, he should do that, because it's 5 months since that knockout. I don't think he should go longer than 6 or 7 months, because there was no shame in losing to Charlo. Nobody expected him to win anyway. So shake it off and get back to action. Hopefully we hear something by the March report. The next number 5 is from 160 pounds, middleweight, and that is, I think he's still considered the interim champion of the WBA, Chris Eubank Jr. I said I think because Ryota Murata got upgraded from regular champion to super champion, and I don't remember, maybe I missed it, but I don't remember the WBA upgrading Eubank from interim champion to regular champion. I don't remember that. So as of now, I still think he's the interim champ. Again, haven't heard anything on what he's doing next and who he could be fighting. Eubank hasn't fought since December of 2019, when he really didn't even get started in that fight with Matt Korobov, because Korobov fucked up his shoulders at the beginning of the second round and had to retire with the injury. Eubank won the interim WBA title on a TKO due to an injury, and he hasn't fought since. So I'm hoping we see him back in the ring, because he really hasn't been able to capitalize on that major win that he had a couple years ago when he dominated James DeGale. So I'm hoping we see something. What I really want is, I want to see Charlo and Chris Eubank Jr. fight each other. Jermall Charlo and Chris Eubank. I think Eubank is deserving, and I think Charlo really doesn't have any other options unless somebody comes up from 154 like a Jarrett Hurd or something. while Charlo waits around to move up to possibly take on your David Benavidez's and Canelo Alvarez and stuff like that. So I really think the fight makes a lot of sense. I know Eubank was the other option for Charlo when Charlo picked Sergey Derevyanchenko for his last fight. I know the other option was Eubank. Well, why not these guys get together now? I think it's a good fight. It makes a lot of sense. It's a great matchup, and I say they go for it. I'm hoping we hear something by the March report on that, and if not, at the very least, I want to see Eubank just shake off some rust and get back to action. So we'll see, either at 160 or 168. We'll see what happens. The next number 5 is from 175 pounds, light heavyweight. He is the former, actually no, it's from 168 pounds, super middleweight. He is the current and undefeated WBO super middleweight champion, Billy Joe Saunders. Well, we know it's been agreed upon. They just need to finalize it on the dotted line, and that should be done early March, that Billy Joe Saunders, in principle, is going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez yet in a unification bout on, looks like May 8th for Cinco de Mayo, just after Cinco de Mayo weekend. All right, that's the weekend after Cinco de Mayo. It looks like that's the fight. It looks like they're going to go to at it, unifying all 3 major super middleweight titles, the three of the 4. And that's huge. That is the biggest fight of Billy Joe Saunders' career if he can get it. The only thing that might hold it up is if Canelo gets injured in his title defense against Avni Yildirim at the end of this month. But I don't think Canelo's going to have an issue with Yildirim in terms of where he wouldn't be able to bounce right back for May, but unless he were to suffer a serious injury or something like that. So Billy Joe's just got to wait and see what happens there. But I'm hoping we see him and Canelo in May. It looks like that's very real. And by the March report, I'm hoping we're officially announcing that fight to happen, because that's huge. Next up is my number 5 fighter in the 175-pound light heavyweight division, and that is former champion Eliter Alvarez. Alvarez, after getting knocked out by Joe Smith in August of last year, took a few months to decide what he wanted to do. He's 35, 36 now, and he decided he wants to continue his career. I think that's a good idea. Make one last run at it. COVID, it has been different for everybody. It really has. And he went in, maybe he was overlooking Joe Smith in that fight a little bit because he was a big favorite. So maybe he could bounce back. I say he just comes back and shakes off some rust, hopefully in the next couple months, because we're looking at 6-7 months. And, I know that was a devastating loss, but I think it's something he can bounce back from for sure. He's got the skill and he's got the power. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping, though, we hear about him returning and everything. It doesn't have to be a top 10 guy next, but I hope by the end of the year he works himself into some kind of an eliminator. And hopefully we hear something by the March report. Next is my number 5 fighter in the 200-pound cruiserweight division, and that is contender Alexei Papin. Well, we know Papin is in line to fight for the WBC title. We just don't know if it's going to take place next or if it's going to take place later in the year. That's still to be decided by the WBC. What I think is that he's second in line, because Ilunga Makabu, who Papin fought in August of 2019 in a great fight, and it was a final eliminator, and Makabu barely beat Papin by a majority decision. Ilunga Makabu is the champion, and he has 2 mandatories to do against Tabiso Mashunu, which is also a rematch, and Alexei Papin. Now, Papin's number 2 and Mashunu's number 1. I think Mashunu's first in line for the first half of the year, and then the winner, which in my opinion would be Makabu, would have to fight Alexei Papin in the second half of the year. One way or the other, he's getting a title shot. I just want to find out, hopefully by the March report, if it's coming against Mashunu next. And I want to see Papin, who hasn't fought since August of last year when he knocked out Ruslan Fafer. I want to see him just come back, shake off some rust first half of the year if he has to wait for his title shot, and then second half of the year, him and Makabu go at it in a rematch, which would be huge, or against Mashunu, either one. But he should be getting his first title shot this year, and I'm hoping he does get it. And then finally, my number 5 fighter in the heavyweight division, he is a WBC interim heavyweight champion, the former WBA regular champion, Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin, it's good to go. March 6th, he's going to lock horns with Dillian White for the interim title in a rematch. In my opinion, the winner gets a title shot later on. either against Deontay Wilder, possibly against the winner of Fury and Joshua. And I just think either way, it's going to be a big fight next for these two guys. I mean, there's Andy Ruiz sitting there. Whoever wins this fight is going to have a big fight next. And I really think Povetkin has a very good chance of beating Dillian Whyte again. I really think it could go either way. I picked Dillian Whyte the first time, and he looked like he was on his way to win. But Povetkin, no matter what age he is, he's 41 now. He has the boxing ability and the IQ, and he also has the power. Even at his age, he proved that. I think that gives him an edge in the rematch against Dillian Whyte again. I think it's close to a 50-50 fight, but this time I'm picking Povetkin to knock out Dillian Whyte again. And you know what? Even if they were to go to a decision, which I don't think they will, somebody's getting knocked out in this fight, in my opinion. Even if it were to go to a decision, I think Povetkin could win that too. So I think he's going to come in fully prepared in March 6th on DAZN, and I think he's going to get Dillian Whyte out of there again. But it could be a good fight, could be a very good fight. So we'll see what happens. March 6th on DAZN, Povetkin and Whyte. And I'm giving you my prediction now because I don't know if my number 5 report will be out by that weekend or not. It might be a couple days later. So Povetkin might not be the number 5 anymore. And I want you guys to know my prediction. So we'll see what happens. But that's the number 5 report for all the number 5 fighters in boxing, ranging from 122 pounds to heavyweight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Show me some love. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, or subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, True Boxing. You've been here with the truth.